Welcome to part 3 of the pile optimization process. In part 2, we generated our first layout and chose our trackers for our site. So now it's time to bring in terrain. In another video, I've shown you how to find a GeoTIFF file in various software, so we should have that ready to go. To start out, we're going to come right up here to Project, and we're going to hit Import. And just like with the boundaries, this is something that can be dragged and dropped in, or we can select Browse. Here I have my project folder, and right here is my TIFF file. So I'm going to open that. All right, and once that's done loading, I'm going to hit OK and close out. So we can colorize the terrain file by coming over to the Terrain Analysis panel. It looks like 2 triangles. And let's go to Elevation, Autofill Ranges, and Autofill Colors to get the latest terrain. And here we have our elevation terrain for the site. Now, if you look, you'll notice that underneath the terrain is this blue line where all of our equipment and boundaries are currently residing. That is at 0 elevation. So what we want to do is we want to bring this stuff up and we want to place it on the terrain. And to do that, we're going to come over to our Terrain and Piles panel right here. For selected area, you can do boundary or equipment. For this, we're going to do boundary. We're going to select boundaries from list. You could do just the 2 buildable areas because the exclusion zones are not going to matter in this case. Or you can just hit all boundaries. Under terrain, you'll see that the name of our file that we just uploaded, it's whatever.tiff. It'll be different for your project, is selected. For this next option, cut and fill, we're going to uncheck that because we do not want to update cut and fill just yet. So we're going to leave everything as it is, and we're going to click Update Piles. All right, and once that's done running, you can already kind of see, but let's zoom in a little more here. You can see that our equipment has been placed on the terrain. So as you might be able to tell, there is a pretty significant slope going on through this site. And if we come here and we click on one of these trackers and press C, that puts us into this view mode where we can see the slope of the ground as compared to the slope of the trackers. So here you can see why there's such a tall pile height, because it has to accommodate for this high slope point right here. So C again to exit out of that. Another way to tell is you could keep this selected and you're going to come over to the Object Details panel. And if you scroll down towards the bottom, you can see the pile lengths and the pile counts under here. And if we come up to position, here we've got what the slope of that pile is. So that's another way to tell. But for now, let's get rid of this terrain map. We're going to do that by coming over here, and we're going to go over to transparent. So that just makes all of that colorization go away. We will come back to that later on in this process. So now what we want to do is we want to look at the pile lengths for the entire project. So how we do this is we come up to the Property Analysis panel. And just like how we looked at the tracker lengths in another video, we're going to look at trackers, but this time we're going to look at them by pile. So we're going to come here to Tracker Frame Piles Length. And we have this bar graph again. There are several different ways we can see this. We can come to Auto Bin Count, which is going to make the adjustments so you can see down to a more detailed view of what the lengths that we have are, or you could even round min-max and make it just, it's kind of whatever is going to be easiest for you to look at. Right now we've got a pretty intense range. Our piles are ranging from 8 feet to 125 feet, which is a little tall for a ground mounted system. So we definitely want to take care of some of these taller piles. So just like with the tracker lengths bar graph, we can select one of the bars in this graph and it will highlight and select all of the objects that meet that property. So if we come up to here, this range of 115 to 125, the most troubling range for sure, It's going to select them, and you can see here we've definitely got a problem spot right in that at that point. But let's say we want to select everything here that is 60 feet and above. How we do that is we come right up here to horizontally select that, and we're going to start at a point and we're going to drag across. Now you see it has selected everything from this point up, and those are all highlighted right here. We can also come right here to colorize objects. And just like in part 2, when we were looking at tracker lengths, colorize objects will give you a colorization that shows you where there are problem areas. So since we've now identified these problem areas, we're going to move on to the next video where we will be talking about how to eliminate some of the problem areas.